All right, man, welcome back to the God-Centered Men's Recovery Show. I'm your host, Tim Holloway, and I'm glad to be back at you again. Look, if you're new here, this is a show for Christian men inside of recovery who want to live an awesome spirit-filled life. So if you stumbled on the show, this is the place for you, and welcome. So we're going to dive into our topic. So last video, we talked about the world and given it a full definition of what the world is. So I'm going to touch on just a little bit here. But the world is the system of man, the secular affairs, the earthly matters, and the society, the structure, and the world order that currently exist. Now, inside this world is science, law, education, politics, entertainment, news, and government. So that is the biblical definition of what the world is. It's not the earth, but it is the world and the inhabitants of the world and the systems that they create. So we got that. So the second point was that this whole world lies in and is able to be swayed by an evil influence. And I find that to be very important, that we are in this world and that we are in a system, in an order that is able to influence us inside of a negative direction. So I think it's really important to be on guard with that. And then number 3 in this conversation in the last video was that there is a God of this world and that he does have an agenda, okay? And it's important to understand what that agenda is so we can better be able to combat that. Super important. Okay, so we're starting off the topic with this in 1 John 4:3. It says, every spirit that confesses not that Jesus is the Christ, that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard that should come, and even now is already in the world. So, what I want to point out with this is, along with this world system and its influences, and the governance and who's in charge and all of these different things, there is the spirit of the Antichrist that is already present. So the spirit of Antichrist is in the world, okay? So when we talk about this topic, we go into the Antichrist and we go into like deep spiritual things, and what I want to is to really give a definition that we can just thoroughly understand and that we can see present in the world already, that we don't have to look for some mysterious man in the future, right? So this word anti, it means at its core just being an opponent, the opponent of Christ, that is different in nature, different in quality. It also means to be a substitution. Now, if anybody who had a substitute teacher, you know exactly what that is. And so this term Antichrist was to be in substitution, that is to take the place of another person. And so that is the reality of what the spirit of the Antichrist is to take the place of God inside of the world. And you can see that that's clearly happening inside the world systems, that they are setting themselves up to be your provider and to be your God and have you humble, crippled, and dependent upon them. In fact, the whole scenario ends with demanding worship. And so we see that there. So in substitution, in place of another. And lastly, against something, to be able to provide resistance. So I want you to think about this in the world systems and what we have and what we talked about yesterday, which is in science, in law, education, politics, entertainment, news, and government. So all of those systems, thinking about this in mind, that there is a mindset and a belief system that is in opposition to the character and the nature of God. That's a pretty simplistic belief, but this is the paradigm that the Bible gives us. Everything within this world has an opposing mindset that can and will draw us away from what God wants in our life, and that's just facts, right? And so this word substitution is to be one in place of another. So we look inside these different realms of society and say that the goal is to become a substitute inside of those areas and to take the place of faith inside of those areas. And lastly, that is the spirit that provides resistance. Okay? And so even inside of our life, the spirit that provides resistance, it's there and it's present. If we were to be honest with ourselves, we would definitely come to the conclusion that anything good that I want in my life, there is a spirit or an opposing force that offers me resistance in that area. And we feel the resistance. I mean, we'd be lying if we didn't own up that every good thing that we desire to do, there is resistance. In fact, you'll hear God speak to you and tell you something, and it's maybe it's something to do, an addiction to drop, a activity to participate in, and immediately what you're going to find is the spirit of resistance. And that is, there is an opposing force, inside of this world that offers you resistance to the good things that you want to begin to manifest in your life. Now, is that resistance meant to destroy us? No. That resistance is meant to be fought. That resistance is meant to be overcome. Okay? And that resistance is what builds inside of us grit, determination, and perseverance. And we have to press through that to get to the other side. So, anti-opposed the Messiah. And now that gives us a more practical definition of this Antichrist, because when you start going into end times and all the different scenarios that are going to take place and the man of sin and all these different things, it gets out into the realm of where you're trying to find why it's applicable. Now, this understanding the opposing forces and understanding that is going to take place in your life, and knowing that it is there, and knowing that it's present, and knowing that you are meant to bust through that and get to the other side. Well, now we're getting into the realms of application where that is very, very practical inside of your life. So, the next one is Satan deceives the whole world in Revelations 12:9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent. Now, this is a reference to the beginning of time in the Garden of Eden. The writer wanted to make sure that you attach this evil influence to the one who started all the trouble to begin with, the tempter, right? Called the devil, Satan. He deceives the whole world, okay? That's what I want you to notice in here is that as we talked about these different layers, now we're into his primary weapon. I find this to be really important because to be able to come against an enemy, it would behoove us to know the tactics. And I'm going to tell them straight out for you so you know and understand. Lies and deception. Lies and deception. And those are the things that come against us. Whenever we are being deceived or we're believing a lie, you can guarantee that it's going to affect your life. Because everything in our life flows out of our belief systems, what we think, our paradigm and our mindset and our perception. Our faith flows through that. And so the best way to begin to come against you, come against me, is to begin to skew and change your beliefs. Here's the reality. Our opponent knows us thoroughly. He knows how to operate. He knows how actions, beliefs become behaviors, and all of these things, right? And so the main mode for us is to produce lies and deception so we can believe it. Let me bring this home to you. Let's say that you are raised in a poverty, extreme poverty, welfare, living off the system, in this very negative experience, right? Within that poverty and within that mindset, you're going to accept a lot of negative beliefs in that situation. And those beliefs are going to attach themselves to you and they're going to affect your life. Now, you'll most likely, by the belief systems that you have picked up, begin to live a very frustrated and disappointing life based upon what you believe in your mind. And so this is the way that resistance works inside of your life. That you can guarantee that any area where it feels like you can't break through, there's no breakthrough, I can guarantee you there is a stronghold in your belief system where you believe a lie and it is manifesting in a very negative way inside of your life. Here's another way this operates. If you've been abused, if you've been neglected, if you've been hurt in any fashion by while you were growing up, you probably accepted a lie. And the lie is that maybe that you're bad, and that you're filled with shame, and that you're filled with all this guilt because of the belief that you have concerning yourself that you are bad. The reality is if you think that you are bad, you can't help but do bad things, because you're going to live up to your identity. You're going to live up to what you believe yourself to be. And so it's very important in our mindset and our belief systems to begin to align ourselves with what God says we are, what God thinks we are. Super important. So, He is there for deception. The last one was resistance. This one is deception. So we're going to go into what this word actually means in the Greek, but it means to depart from safety. So these deception that you have, correlate them to false belief systems, beliefs that are not working for you, beliefs that are not getting the results that you want to get. Those beliefs are an act of lie and deception, yet we hold on to them. And yet they affect our life in a very great manner. So this whole deception is to get us to depart from safety, to roam from the truth, and to be out of virtue or out of alignment. Now I want you to think about the areas that you struggle with, and to begin to correlate those struggles with being out of alignment. Now this is the basic will of your enemy, to provide resistance and deception to get you out of alignment. That's it. I just gave you his battle plan, okay? And that's all he really cares about, is to get you out of alignment. And that alignment, of course, is what we believe, say, and do all line up like this, in line. And it also means that we are in alignment with God, and He is manifesting Himself inside of our heart. We're in alignment with those things. So everything, the world, the flesh, and the devil, is supposed to bring you to the place where you're out of alignment and where you're not operating inside of His will. Think about this. The temptation in the garden. Adam and Eve were inside of the will of God, and they were experiencing peace and prosperity and all these different things. And then the serpent came, right? And delivered them a message to allure them into temptation, to give them something enticing. And the whole purpose and intention was to get them out of alignment with God. And we see what happened after they fell out of alignment with God, right? They begin to run, they begin to hide, they begin to be afraid, they begin to be filled with guilt and shame, they begin to point the finger at another and blame shift and fail to take responsibility. And we see the whole manifestation of getting out of alignment. So the reality is that if alignment is connection, is peace, is yielding to the voice of God, then we know we're out of alignment when guilt starts coming in, when shame starts coming in, when all of these other different activities start coming in. We see and understand that we are out of alignment, and that there is an influence that is coming to us to bring us to that place where we're no longer in alignment. Man, this is really, really important truth. If you're struggling with addiction, if you're struggling with things that you do on a repeated basis that you don't like doing, understanding this, that the whole purpose of that is to influence you and sway you to get out of alignment with your core values, what you believe to be true, and the connection that you have with God. So the enemy's tactic, interruption, that's it. So between point A and point B of a current, if you're into electrical, or if your mind thinks like that, from point A to point B, the only way that I can get the current to stop from going to point A to point B is to create a switch which creates an interruption inside of the current. And that's the way this truth operates inside of our lives. That once we get connected with God, the lights come on and power starts to begin to operate. And we begin to live in grace, which is the empowerment of God to overcome the sin or the weaknesses that are inside of our life. The power gets clicked on, we're operating, we're running, we're moving, we're going, we're doing things, right? Now, the only thing to stop that is to come in and to create an interruption, okay? And that's what takes place inside of our lives so many times, is that we get connected to God, but then we get swayed by an influence and an activity, and it creates an interruption. Now, the power of God is still flowing. The interruption is not on God's side. He doesn't go, oh my gosh, look at you, you're so stupid. Like, what am I going to do with you? He doesn't say none of those things, or nor does he say, you know what, because you made a mistake, I'm going to withdraw my power from operating. That's not the way that God works. And so his power is still flowing to you. Now, your responsibility is to see where the interruption is taking place and to begin to flip the switch. And that is to begin to remove the interruption that is taking place on our part. Here's the reality. There's never a problem with God's distributor. There's never a problem on God's side. Okay, the problem comes with our receiver, in us getting fine-tuned and dialed in and into his frequency and understanding the right channel. And you get what I'm saying? That's a powerful reality. Okay, moving on. So the world can't receive the spirit of truth. Listen to this. John 14:17, even the spirit of truth whom the world cannot receive. The world cannot receive. So, and it gives the reasons why the world cannot receive, because they don't see him, neither do they know him. So I want you to think about this word receive for a minute. It's a powerful word in the Greek, but it means to take in, okay? To take something in, and also to grab a hold of something, and to catch, have hold, and obtain, okay? It's all about being within your grasp and having, holding it and gaining possession. For example, this pencil, if I were to give this to you, your hand would be out and you would take the pencil and you would have it in your hand and you would take it in and you would have it as your possession and you would be in ownership of this pencil. You get this word receive. So the world is unable to do that with God. The world is unable to catch him. It's unable to take a hold of him. And the reason is because sight, clarity, vision, they're unable to see. Now, this word see is to actually be a spectator in and to visually see it, to understand it up here, and to be able to discern it, right? To behold, consider, and to look. So, the world doesn't have the ability to see. And this is clearly evident. And this comes to the deception that is taking place inside of the world. No matter what paradigm of God that you give them, right, they are unable to see it. And the next one is that they will not know it. That means they won't allow it, they won't be aware of it, and they won't understand it. So, to break this down, the world cannot receive the spirit of truth because they do not receive him, because they cannot see or know him. So what is the answer in this situation? You see, we were once part of this system. We were once in darkness, right? But now we have come to the light, and now we know, and now we understand. And the crazy thing about this light is that there's no escaping it. Like, once the light has been turned on, right? There's no escaping it. And that there's no place for me to hide any longer, because the light has been turned on. Now, this causes sin to be a very frustrating experience, where before you had no problem with doing anything, right? Whatever you want, whatever you thought, whatever you felt, you were governed by your impulses, and you didn't feel too much shame in regard to that behavior. In other words, you didn't really feel bad about it. Now that the light has been turned on, something new has taken place where now we begin to be aware of our actions, aware of our behaviors, and aware of the consequences and the pain that we might be causing another person, right? And that causes us pain on the inside, and there's friction and there's conflict now. Where before we started this journey with God, before the light was turned on, there wasn't much conflict, right? And the reason why there wasn't much conflict is because we were in the world system, okay? We were going with the flow. And that comes the old analogy that any dead fish can float downstream, right? And so that's the path of no resistance. It's easy. And we're going with the flow, and everything's just fine. But then something happens, right? The light comes on and we get revelation and we start seeing our behavior and we begin to understand our own sinfulness and all of these different things. And then we begin to get into this realm of striving. And that is striving against sin. And that means falling down and recognizing that we are falling down and begin to stand up and begin to offer resistance towards actions and behaviors that are manifesting inside of our lives. That's a new process. It's a new way. So the world cannot receive the Spirit of truth because they can't see Him and they can't know Him. The next thing about the world is the world can't give you real peace. That's the truth. John 14:27 says this, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." So Jesus saying is that he has this peace. And this peace is all about wholeness. Now we think of peace about having circumstances that are not chaotic. That's not the peace we're talking about here. We're talking about a peace that keeps you whole and keeps you well, even though you're inside of the storm. That's the peace. Okay? Because anybody can be peaceful when everything's going well. Anybody can be peaceful when everything is happening according to their will. Now, it doesn't take much effort to be peaceful in that situation. And so the peace that He gives is the calm in the storm. We are in the world, okay? And this world has an evil influence, and it has a God, and He has an agenda, okay? And it is beginning to manifest, and we are in this chaotic experience called life. And Jesus says, I will give you peace. And that is this inner quietness, this alignment, and this wholeness of our life inside of the chaos. We were born for this. We were born for the chaos. Like I said in the last video, we are insurgents that are here to subvert. And that is that we are in part of another kingdom that is not of this world. And we are soldiers inside of that army, and we're meant to establish a new kingdom that is going to be on this earth. Understand that. That is a powerful reality. So peace. This is alignment. This is being one. And this is coming to a place of rest. I love that. And so Jesus says this, that the world cannot give you real peace. And that there is never going to be real peace in the world. Now, the way the world peace works is this. Is that compromise must be made. And one party is going to compromise. And that is that if you want to live in unity, you're going to have to give up your religion. If you want unity, you're going to have to give up, your what you believe in, your convictions. And so the unity and the peace that the world offers is if you lay down your sword, if you lay down what you're willing to fight for, we can have peace. And what that means is that you compromise, you come to a state of laying down your weapon, and you give up your alignment and your convictions and your relationship with God, and we will have unity. Now, this is the collision course that the whole world is on. It's like the Elton John song, right? how we all live in unity and oneness, and we all just, love each other and all of this different stuff. This is garbage. Now, this is going to manifest inside of the kingdom, but there's going to be no system of man that's going to create that. That is only a delusion that the elite and the powerful use to get you to conform and to get you under their oppression. Okay? Crazy. So the world can't give you real peace. Now, what that means is that inside the world, there is an attempt to give you peace. Okay? And that is comfort. And we look inside of our addictions and we see the main purpose. What is it? So I can get peace from the chaos, so I can somehow self-soothe, and that I can somehow find comfort. And this is what the world offers. It offers a solution in a bottle. Okay? And this is talking about pills, it's talking about marijuana, it's talking about drugs, it's talking about alcohol, and all these different things. That this is the solution that the world has for you. And it comes to a place that you can comfort yourself, and you can sedate, and you can begin to get drunk all the time and begin to escape reality, put your head in the sand, and somehow feel numb, right? And this is what takes place inside of our addictions. They're all meant for self-soothing. They're all meant to bring some sort of comfort. And it is the substance that the world offers you to bring you peace. And Jesus directly contradicts that and says, the peace that I give is not like the world. Okay? It's not like the world. It's not going to sedate you. It's not going to numb you. But it is a interconnection and a confidence and a joy that you are on the winning team and that you are connected with God and that His empowerment and His Spirit is operating through you. That is the source of comfort and joy. That is a powerful, powerful reality. So what kind of peace does the world give? Solutions in a bottle, right? And this brings us once again to the evil influence that is taking place in the world. So inside of our health industry, okay, and pharmaceuticals and everything that takes place inside of there, the bottom line is the money, okay? Bottom line is the dollar. This reminds me of the guy who had a cure for, it was some disease. I forget what it was. It happened a while back. So his pill, he had a certain cure for a disease, and it was like $7 a pill, right? So he looked at that and said, wow, I have a great commodity here. Now I'm going to make it 700 or 7,000. And now all of a sudden this little thing that cost $2 to make cost someone $700 or $7,000 to begin to partake of. This is the corruption that is inside of the world that our systems allow to take place. And once again, this is the capitalism. And I have to say here once again that I'm not against capitalism. I'm just saying that there's a lot of holes and there's a lot of realm for evil to begin to influence and to sway it, right? Because corrupt men are inside of these systems. So this man thought, you know what, I'm going to capitalize on this moment and I'm going to begin to raise the price, and I'm not going to walk in love. I'm not going to practice any sort of empathy. So I'm going to raise the price and it's going to skyrocket, right? And then of course, people begin to condemn him for doing such things. So I say all that to say this, that there is a peace that the medical community offers you. Here, take this pill. It's going to make everything better. Take this pill. It's going to fix your brain, right? And understanding and really grasping that is a corrupt world system. And it is the mindset of man to begin to look outside of himself and begin to find solutions outside of God. And the reality is this, that sin all it is a different solution to meet your needs. Everybody is trying to meet their needs. Now sin is trying to meet your needs in a fashion, in a way that's not prescribed. Okay? And this is the dilemma of man. This is the dilemma of addiction. That I have certain needs that need to be met. and that I'm going to go about to meet those needs in a very unhealthy fashion. And then what this does, of course, is it begins to snowball, is that more pain and more shame and more guilt begin to get piled on, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until we're under this whole weight of sin that is destroying us. So Jesus came to remove all of that from us, not only to forgive us of sin, but to deliver us from it. And that is to equip us with the power to overcome. Grace is not God overlooking your sin. That's mercy. Grace is him saying, you know what, I'm going to empower you, and I'm going to influence your heart, and I'm going to cause you to be an overcomer. And that is the reality of which we have. So these are awesome realities. I'm going to close with this, that the religions of the world offer you these different paths also. Hey, this is the way for peace. And they say if you do this and you do these 4 pillars, you do these things, and that you can enter a state of nirvana. And you can enter the place of nothingness and blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying? And so all of this is the world offering peace through religion, through politics, through all of these different things. Understanding that peace does not come from the world or any world system. Peace is going to come through Jesus Christ and his reign upon this earth. Now in the future day, there's going to be a man of peace. And he's going to, in a very chaotic, everything's going to be in an uproar, and things are going to seem to collapse, and there's going to come a world ruler that's going to come to the rescue, okay, and offer peace. But it's not going to be real peace. That's a powerful reality. All right, brothers. So we will continue on this topic tomorrow, and we'll see you soon. Peace.